Okay, we're now live. To my students of practical research, good morning. So I'm going to discuss the different statistical tools that you will use in your practical research. So why is this so important? Because as you progress in your study and analysis of data and how to present it in the form of a graph or a chart, there often seems to be a center or a middle number where the data groups or concentrates with a high frequency. So this is central mass of numbers that can be easy enough to estimate when the data is on graph. So in this section, we will deal with how to determine the center of the data pool and explain why that's important. So more specifically, we'll look at what is the middle value of the data. So middle values uh, come into two types, the mean and the median. So when we're talking about numbers and the data near the middle, you have to remember that statistics are used to mathematically help answer a question. So because statistics and data science can be such a powerful tools in their ability to crunch the numbers, you can use the power of statistics to more accurately find the middle of your group of observation. So you can also see how far away from the middle each separate observation or data point is. Because you have to understand, when you're determining the center or the central data in a group of tests or let's say results, you will have to that is important for you to determine what is the parang like the normal value when it comes to a certain experiment. So for example, let's say you're going to find the average height of the Filipinos, 'di ba? So if the average height of the Filipinos is 5'4" and merong isang tao na nakakuha ng height na 5 feet lang, let's say, you will know na below siya na average. So ibig sabihin, hindi siya ganun ka statistically speaking in layman's term, hindi siya normal. Okay? So, for example naman, 5 feet 4 inches yung average, again, ng height ng Filipino, and then nagkaroon ng 6 feet na height yung isang tao, di ba? It's either above normal or ang tawag mo sa kanya or an outlier, 'di ba? So depende 'yan kung an yun yung mean yung magsasabi kung lahat ba ng kung yung mga data sets na yon is umaalis siya doon sa may pinakagitna. Bakit kailangan nating ma-determine yun? Because we will use it to identify which are outliers and titingnan natin din yung cause kung bakit nagkakaroon ng outliers, di ba? And through that, we will be able to explain the different phenomena. So, for example, ang average life expectancy ng mga Filipino is 75 years old pero may nabubuhay na 100 years old. 'Di ba? So ikaw as a researcher, if you're interested to prolong the life of people, you're going to determine why mapapansin mo yung 100-year-old na tao, bakit siya tumagal ng 100 years old? And then you are going to study him or her. So that makes it easy for scientists to identify kung ano yung mga interesting data points na pwede pang magkaroon ng research. So the principle in mean and median is that the more is better. So when collecting data points or collecting bits of information related to answering the question of a study, the more data collected, the better. So most professional researchers state that the minimum number of each data section is 100 data points. In other words, for each measurement in the study experiment, there should be at least 100 data points collected from at least 100 observation. Okay, so next slide tayo. So, for example, in this case, these are vocational technology students test scores: 86, 73, 97, 97, 63, 100, 84, 88, 95. So, in order for you to determine kung marami ba talagang bumabagsak doon sa section na yon, you have to discover first, of course, not only the median, but also the mean. And titingnan mo kung gaano kalayo yung bawat score doon sa mean or median, di ba? Um, So let's define these words and learn how to find them, okay? So what is the mean? How do we find it? So the mean is the numerical average of the data set. The mean is found by adding all the values in the set, then dividing the sum by the number of values. So this is a representation of how you could actually compute for the mean. Calculating the mean of a group of observations is simple. You have to add up all the amounts in the data in the set and then divide by the number of data points in that set. So this will be the mean and is shown by the x bar or x X up. Okay? So, um, you just imagine that when you're going to use statistics to help you find information about, for example, like you're looking at the stock market, di ba? And you'd like to trade. One of the things that you try to figure out is the average price of the stock when the overall stock market measured by the S&P 500 index is up or down. So for example, let's say the usual stock price for uh, a fast food chain restaurant in the Philippines is 200 pesos. And then suddenly, you're going to see this, kunyari, Jollibee. Bakit ang mahal-mahal niya? Kasi 275 pesos per share or per stock. 'Di ba? So, dalawang ibig sabihin nun kung bakit mahal siya. Una, they're trying to expand the business. Or pangalawa, they're trying to increase the price because they would like it to be exclusive only for the said members, 'di ba? Ayaw niya talagang magbenta at all. So, magiging interested ka doon sa mga stocks na yun. Bakit sobrang lumalayo siya from the said usual mean or from the said usual ano bang tawag nito, idea na 200 pesos lang per stock ng restaurant ng fast food chain yung presyo ng stock, 'di ba? So, paano naman yung median, okay? So, pinakita ko na sa inyo yung ano bang tawag nito? Yung computation for the mean, you just add it all up and divide it by the number of data sets. So dito, in this case, the sum is 783 divided by 9 kasi 9 data sets siyang pinag-add. Overall, the mean is 87. So ang ibig sabihin dito is that kung meron kang score, for example, in this case, 63, mas malayo siya sobra sa 87, etong 63 na to, na nakakuha, itong estudyante nito, malamang nahihirapan siya sa pag-aaral. While ito namang nakakuha ng 100, of course, you will try to see na, baka mamaya pwede siya makapagbigay ng study habits na pwede niyang i-share. And of course, yun, mas matutuwa ka, di ba? Kasi itong 100, magtataka, bakit siya nakakuha ng 100 when in fact the mean is 87? So, yun. Next. So, what is the median naman? So, how do we find the median? So, the median is the number that is in the middle of a set of data. So, all you have to do is to arrange the numbers in the set in order from least to greatest, yung pinakamababa sa pinakamalaki, and then find the number that is in the middle. Okay? So, as an explanation, median, when you're talking about median, is that the median of a group of data points is the point that lies in the middle of the data after the data has been sorted from the lowest to highest. So, why is it important for you to collect the median? Because you're going to compare it with the mean, 'di ba? So, the median, ito yung hinahanap mo lang siya to check how far the mean is from the median. So, for example, you have a data set of, let's say, 63, 73, 84, 86, 88, 95, 97, 97, 100. Okay, kanina, what we found out was the mean was 87. And the median here is 88. Okay. So, itong median na to, it will just show na very possible ma-achieve yung tinatawag nating mean. Okay? Kasi isa lang ang layo ng median at saka ng mean eh. If it tells you na malapit lang ang mean at saka ang median or kung sakto silang dalawa, it just shows you that the average number is much easier to achieve than the ones which are in the lower, 'di ba? Kasi kung for example sobrang baba ng median, kunyari nag-fall siya sa 73, it will just show kung gaano hindi ka reliable yung mean to represent the number of data sets. So you will have to divide both of them to two parts. Kasi sometimes mean can actually mislead a researcher to interpret na it is normal. But you will see, kapag nakita mo yung median, it will actually show na hindi ganun lagi ang case, na the mean always represents. Kasi for example, ang cases mo, kunyari sa 4 na estudyante, dalawang extreme, dalawang 100, tapos dalawang 60. 'Di ba? So, ang median mo doon, ang mean mo doon probably is 80. Yung 80 na yun, it does not mean na kaya ng estudyante makakuha ng 80% on a normal, regular level. Bakit? Kasi kung titingnan mo yung realistic data points or set, 60, 60, 100, 100, sa gitna, if you will add the two, both 100, uh, to when you're determining the, you have to determine the median first kung possible siya. Okay? Kasi kung ganun sobrang layo yung pinakamababa sa pinakamataas, most likely, hindi magre-represent yung mean ng dataset na yon. So, ihiwalay mo, parang, kumbaga, you cannot make it homogenized groups na grupo, lahat sila same ang treatment mo. Kumbaga, kunyari, pag nagtuturo ka sa estudyante, kung alam mo may mga naka 60, alam mo yung mga naka 100, hindi pwedeng same pa rin yung teaching style na gagawin mo. Okay? Kasi sobrang layo na ng agwat nilang dalawa. May something there na factor na hindi mo sila pwedeng i-treat as a homogeneous group of study. So for example, in this case, small, medium, and large, di ba? So you have to look at the middle when you're looking for the median. So how do we find the median? So in a data set, kung hindi mo mahanap yung middle number, you just have to add the two middle numbers, then divide them by 2. So in this case, kung ito yung yung data set, 8 sila, 'di ba? So all you just have to do is add both which are lying on the middle and then divide them by 2 and the answer is 91.5. So what is mode naman? So how do we find it? So the mode is the piece of data that occurs most frequently in the data set. So a set of data can have number one, a one mode, or more than one mode, or no mode. Diba? So why is it important for us to find the most frequently appearing data set? Kasi the mode will actually tell you kung ano yung probably yung pinakamaraming nag-a-appear na dataset or yung very popular, 'di ba? Kasi you will be interested kumaga for example even though you already have the mean and the median, so kailangan mo pa ring malaman kung ano yung pinaka-popular na lumalabas sa isang uh, data set kasi it will tell you something na more probably ito din yung lalabas sa mga sumusunod na occurrences. Because the mode of a group of data point is simply the number that occurs the most frequently in the data. So while the mean shows the average of the numbers in the observations, the mode shows the data point in the observations that is most frequently observed. So in the stock or gain loss study, for example, when the mode is the percentage gain of the stock that shows up most often, if you discover that the gain percentages of both, let's say, so pag sabihin natin 0.4, and yung isa 0.75% are the most frequently observed, then the entire list of gains of stocks is said to be bimodal. That is having two modes in one group. 'Di ba? So, kasi when you're trying to determine the data value set, you simply cannot add or you simply cannot subtract tapos para ma-predict mo yun eh. Sometimes kasi when you're looking for the mode, what is the exact number that will more likely appear on the next set of data on the different circumstances, di ba? So for example, let's say ang laging nag-a-appear sa data sa mga nakausap mo sa nabotas na tao nung tinatry mong i-determine yung average height is 8 years old. So more likely, marami kang 8-year-old na, kung marami ang 8-year-old doon sa data mo, more likely another set of 8-year-old ulit yung lalabas doon sa data. Okay. And yun yung magsasabi sa'yo na, okay, kaya ganito most likely yung height ng mga Filipino, it's because 8-year-old yung mga nakakausap ko. So probably on the next kapag nagkaroon ka ng another study, you will intentionally make it 9-year-old naman para mas lalo mong ma-observe kung tama ba yung data mo regarding sa average height ng mga Filipino. Kasi for example, let's say kaya 5'4 yung lumalabas na average or mean na height, it's because of a certain age, yun lang yung parang na-interview mo, yun nga 8 years old. Paano pag 11 or 12 years old? Baka mamaya, mas mataas yung makuha mong data sets. For example, let's say 5'6 naman, di ba? Kasi pagka mas tumatanda, mas lalong tumataas yung height, di ba? Or kunyari, let's say, pag nag-go beyond ka pa doon, for example lang naman, syempre, para sa isang 8-year-old, wala namang 5-4 sa na Pilipino. But that's just an example. Uh, kumuha ka ng mga datasets na 21-year-old, 'di ba? So 21-year-old yung mga in-interview mo. Magbabago kaya yung mean ng average height, 'di ba? So yun yung mga questions na tatanungin mo sa sarili mo. So a hint for remembering the mode is that the first two letters give you the hint, the most often number. Mode also represents the most often number. So what is range naman? So when you talk about range, it is the difference between the lowest and the highest values. So bakit important i-determine yung highest and then yung lowest value sa isang study? Kasi 'di ba, ano naman tong number na to? Why do we have to find the range? It's because of the fact na once the data is collected, we look at we look at the spread, okay? A data grouping spread is a description of how small its smallest number is and how large its largest number is. So once you know a group's range, we'll be able to figure out a more statistical information. So, tinitignan mo actually yung spread. Okay, pag sinabing yung spread, kung gaano kalayo yung bawat isang data. Okay? So for example, we have here 63 and 97. So 63 is the lowest, 97 is the highest. So 34 is the range or spread of this set of data. Kung titingnan mo siya sa isang scattershot diagram, di ba? Makikita mo yung gaano kalayo yung pinakamababang point and pinakamataas na point from one another. Okay? So bakit important nga naman hanapin yun, ano? Remember in a survey, each bit of data collected comes from one individual observation. So each observation can be a question in a survey, a stock price when collecting financial data, or an actual observation from an interpersonal study. So, for example, yun nga, let's say, magtataka ka, bakit sa isang restaurant or di kaya fast food chain, 'di ba? Ang pinakamababa niya is 50 pesos na per stock price, 'di ba? And then, yung isa nga sabi ko sa Jollibee 275. So ang taas ng range. Iko-compare mo yung bakit so eto kaya niyang maging mababa yung presyo niya, pero ito ginagawa niyang sobrang mataas yung presyo niya. What makes it so expensive and what makes it cheap? Parang for example, magka-canvas ka ng mga damit, 'di ba? Magtataka ka bakit sa Shopee 60 pesos lang 'to. Pero same quality lang naman siya doon sa for example, pumunta ka sa Muji, may nakita kang mga damit doon na nagulat ka 500 pesos. What makes it so expensive, 'di ba? So, you as a curious buyer or as a curious researcher, you are not going to believe what is always being shown to you. Parang you will have to inquire kasi may comparisons of data kayo na dito kaya niya naman maging mura. Ito, bakit dito sobrang mahal? So, doon mo na mas maintindihan na okay, may tinatawag silang branding, kailangan nilang mas gawing mahal para mas mataas yung tingin sa kanya ng mga tao, etc. So, yun yung range, yun yung magsasabi ng something na you have to figure out. Kasi this data tells you not itong mga data na to, yung mean, mode, median, and range. Ito yung mga mag-i-indicate sa iyo na marami ka pang dapat matutunan. Okay? Kasi pag once na hindi siya yung parang data value set na hinahanap mo, you will be curious bakit ito yung lumabas. Okay? So you will have to inquire more. So statistical tools do not necessarily tell you the result, but it tells you something na, for example, may nakaligtaan ka, may factors na hindi ka nako-consider, 'di ba? So yun yung mga purposes ng statistical tools kasi. So the mean is this is one that requires more work than others. Median is right in the middle, and you in terms of mode, you just have to look at the most frequently appearing number, kaya madali lang siyang hanapin. So ito yung example ng computation. Now, pumunta muna tayo doon sa tinatawag nating variance and standard deviation, okay? So variance is the average square deviation from the mean of a set of data. It is used to find the standard deviation. Now, maraming mga estudyante na natatakot compute ng variance kasi hindi nila maintindihan kung bakit ba natin hinahanap yung uh, variance, ano. Now, you have to understand that the mean amount of a specific uh, thing, like for example a soft drink, di ba, being dispensed by a particular brand of machine is 12 ounces. For example, ganon, that's the mean amount, 12 ounces. Kumbaga pag naglalabas ng Coke yung isang dispenser, 12 ounces yung nilalabas niya. So does that mean that each machine will dispense 12 ounces of soft drink every time it is used? 'Di ba? Ang ibig sabihin dito is, does it mean ba na every time na maglalabas siya ng soft drink, 12 ounces yung ilalabas niya? 'Di ba hindi? So the mean amount of liquid dispensed is 12 ounces. That is just the mean. The question now becomes, if the mean is 12 ounces, how many ounces different than 12 are dispensed and how important is this difference? Okay, I hope nagets niyo yun, ano? Ang tanong dito is, kung 12 ounces ang mean sa isang data, parang every time na naglalabas siya, 12 ounces dapat ng Coke ang nilalabas niya. Ang tanong dito is, how many ounces, gaano karaming ounces ang naiiba doon sa 12 ounces na nai-dispense? How many times na lumalabas, different siya from the mean. 'Di ba? So for example, let's say, 'di ba expect mo 12 ounces yung lalabas. May lumalabas na 13, 14, 15. How many times does it appear? So in essence, variance is the sum of the square of the value of data points and the mean of the data points divided by the number of data points. So that is, the variance is the mean of the square of difference of each data point from the mean. Okay? So a large group of numbers can be described by how tightly the numbers are gathered around the mean or average of the numbers. So it's easy to think about it. So if there are 100 numbers, for example, and 80 of those numbers are within 10%, either higher or lower of the average, then it's easy to see that most of the data is centered around the mean. So this leaves only 20% of data occupying the remaining 90% of the range. Later on, i-discuss ko yung tinatawag na bell curve, ano? But for the meantime, ganito nyo muna siya titingnan. 'Di ba? So, kung merong 100 numbers na lumabas doon sa data and 80 doon, kunyari, 'di ba? 12, 13, 14 ounces, 15, 12, 13, 14. Kung 80 doon ng numbers are within 10%, either higher or lower of the average. For example, let's say hindi nalalayo. Kumbaga 80% ng data set mo is hindi nalalayo sa 12, maaring 13 o maaring 14 lang siya. And 80% yun ng lahat ng data. Ibig sabihin, sa 100 times na nag-dispense ng Coke, yung lumabas, hindi siya nalalayo sa 12, 'di ba? 80% 'yon. Malamang sa malamang, naka-center lang doon siya sa mean. Ibig sabihin, normal yung proseso mo. Okay? So, ano ibig sabihin nun, 'di ba? Ang ibig sabihin nun, kung kunyari, let's say, sa isang dispenser ng Coke na bumili ka, tinitingnan mo kung gaano siya ka-effective. 100 times mo siyang ginamit. Kung 80% doon, 12, malapit lang sa 12 ounces yung nilalabas niya kasi yun yung normal. Ibig sabihin, effectively working. Kasi 80 times, nagsusurround lang siya doon sa 12 ounces. Kasi what if, kunyari, ang dispenser, biglang naglabas siya ng 30 ounces ng Coke, di ba? So, ibig sabihin, parang may sira siya. Bakit siya maglalabas ng 30 ounces? Ang normal lang naman is 12. So, you will have to think about it. So, kung 80% or 80 times siyang correct or at least malapit doon sa tina-target mong ilabas niya, ibig sabihin, more likely, gumagana or effective yung dispenser na yon. Ngayon, yung 20% na yon na napakalayo sa or lumalayo sa 12 na average, you will have to figure out bakit at those moments sobra-sobra sa 12 ounces yung nilalabas ng Coke machine or ng dispenser. And yun yung dapat mong i-investigate. So, standard deviation, okay, dito siya connected sa variance, di ba? So, saka muna natin to i-explain yung, ano bang tawag nito? Yung computation kasi baka maguluhan kayo. So, yung purposes muna kung bakit we're trying to look at standard deviation and variances. So standard deviation shows the variation in the data. Pinapakita niya kung gaano naiiba yung one data from another. If the data is close together, the standard deviation will be small. Okay, so for example, let's say doon nga sa Coke dispenser na sinasabi ko, kung sobrang liit lang ng agwat nung dinidispense niya, 12, 13, 14 ounces, 12, 13, 14 ounces, or 10, di ba malapit lang siya sa 12, ibig sabihin, hindi siya ganun kasira. Gumagana siya ng normal. Now, if the data is spread out, for example, let's say naglalabas na siya ng 40 ounces or 1 ounce lang or 2 ounce or 35 ounce, napakalayo niya sa 12, di ba? So the standard deviation will be large and therefore yung machine na yun ay sira. So standard deviation is often denoted by the lowercase Greek letter sigma. So in computing the standard deviation, this is just, a preliminary step for me uh, to discuss through you have to find the variance first and find the mean of the data, subtract the mean from each value, square each deviation of the mean and find the sum of the squares, divide the total by the number of items and take the square root of the variance. So ganito yung kanyang formula. So in the future I will discuss more of the specific computation or manner on computing the standard deviation and variance. But hopefully, mas naliwanagan kayo dun sa mean, sa median, and sa mode. And of course, yung purpose or meaning ng standard deviation and ng variance. So, I'm going to end this short lecture now on this topic and I hope that you've learned something today. So, thank you.